I've dreamt of cycling around Europe for a couple of years now, and I'm unsure exactly where the idea came from. I think somewhere after finishing college and figuring out what I was going to do instead of going to university, the idea of travel came to me like it comes to many others. I've loved riding my bike for a long time. I've cycled to school and work, with friends, in all weathers, and I've always found joy in it. This relationship to cycling meant that it seemed like the obvious way to travel. It would mean I could go at my own pace, that I would get fitter, that I would always be in the world and experiencing it, and the satisfaction of saying to people that I had travelled that far on a bike would feel pretty cool. I put off this trip for a year due to bad planning and lack of commitment. It was only on an October evening that I decided to say fuck it and bought ferry tickets to motivate myself. I spent the rest of the winter starting to plan, and in the first 3 months of 2025 trying to get fit, organise how I was going to carry everything I needed, and building a bike. April arrived and I didn't feel panicked about spending 3 months riding my bike alone. I knew before I left that I was capable, and although I couldn't foresee everything that would happen, I knew I had the resources to figure it out. I took 3 trains to get to Dover and rode into the wind to the port. I managed to miss the check-in the first time round, but I made it to the correct lane and waited in the cold wind for at least an hour before I was allowed to board. On the other side, the realization that I was in France on my own hit. It was thrilling to feel free. As I rode towards my accommodation for the night, a joy took over that surprised me. I was really about to do the thing that I'd been wanting to do for so long.
Beneath the bebop moon, I wanna croon with you. Beneath the lamppost sun, I got to be the one with you. Ooh, with you. Ooh, you. My life's a shadowless horse. If I can't get across to you in the alligator ring, my heart's all pain for you. Ooh, for you. Ooh, you. Girl, you're good, and I've got wild needs for you. Oh, mountain range, I'm Doctor Strange for you. Ooh, for you.
My first day didn't exactly go to plan. My route hadn't synced to my Garmin, and I spent an hour trying to figure out how to transfer it. I was unsure about how long it would take me to get to my host for the night, and felt behind all day. The main challenge was the headwind. I felt slow and demoralised by what felt like a lack of progress.
Upon a savage look, make no mistake, I love you. I got a powder keg leg.
When planning this trip, I knew I wanted to go to the Roubaix Velodrome. The famous cobbled classic finishes there, and I knew I would be passing by. I stopped and rode a lap on my second day. It felt slightly surreal to be on the same surface that's hosted so many greats, and yet there I was. I followed the canals towards Ghent, along blossom-lined trails, past amateurs racing up the Koppenberg, travelling through the heartland of Belgian cycling. I arrived in the south of Ghent, and the emotions and the exhaustion hit. I'd experienced so much, and navigating new places in a different language was more overwhelming than I first realised. I stopped for a few days and explored the city, and the decision to pause was a good one. I felt more ready to continue, but there was still a lingering exhaustion that remained for the next week.
It's only been a week. The rush of being home and rapid fading, failing to recall what I was missing all that time in England. Has sent me aimlessly on foot or by the help of transportation to knock on windows where friend no longer live. I had
I carried on through Belgium, up towards Antwerp and then east towards Roermond. I cycled the pedestrian tunnel in Antwerp, a piece of infrastructure that I thought was very cool. The following day I cycled through the trees, up a round bridge level with the canopy. The host for that evening fell through, but a stranger's curiosity landed me with a place to sleep for the night, and a trip to the local dairy for ice cream.
remind me of another place in time, where love that traveled far and found me. We stayed outside till 2, waiting for the light to come back. We didn't talk, I knew, until you asked what I was thinking. Until you asked what I was thinking. Brave men tell the truth. The wise man's tools are analogies and puzzles. The woman holds her tongue,
Guess who forgot their charger?
knowing silence will speak
I'm
for
currently waiting
her.
for it to be dropped off.
Brave men tell the
I
truth.
stood by the side of the road in the canal and
The
it's
wise man's
cold.
tools are analogies and puzzles. The woman holds her tongue, knowing silence will speak for her. Will speak for her.
The next night, I accompanied my host in putting her horses into the stable for the night. I left early the next day, and the mist hung over the fields. I rode into Germany somewhere in a quiet, beautiful forest. The outskirts of Düsseldorf soon approached, and a sense of achievement swept through me as I looked at the skyline. I had ridden all the way to Germany. Continuation after Düsseldorf was challenging. I decided to take the train, and it didn't go to plan. I couldn't store my bike correctly, and I missed my connection in Cologne. I cried, and then started to ride towards Bonn, and things felt better. I was following the Rhine River for the next week or two, with large boats alongside me, and plenty of other cyclists. I saw castles and cormorants, and I had a chat with another bikepacker, all in German.
It's something that you can benefit from really putting some thought into. Finally, all the way down at the end is some people asking, so why advertising all the way down at the end? And the answer goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where advertising is
My next rest was near Frankfurt. I spent the Easter weekend exploring the forest near me, on foot and by bike. It felt odd to ride without luggage, but I felt faster, despite the different way my bike handled. I headed into the city to go to some museums, and managed to buy some stamps to send postcards back home. It felt weird to stop for longer, but shops were closed due to Easter, and people weren't available to host me. On Monday and continued south, tracing a path between the Rhine and the Black Forest. I enjoyed this section, the luscious greens, the stalks in the field, the kind people who hosted me. It was getting warmer, and some days were so muggy that I prayed for rain.
See from how grey it is above me, but it's starting to rain, but it is still very warm, very humid. There are clouds like all over to the left of me where the hills, the mountains are. It's almost too warm and it's like sticky to put a coat on. So I'm going to keep riding, see if I can avoid the rain, and then if not, put my coat on. I'm feeling so #blessed because this view is incredible. I don't know how well this is going to show up, but holy shit. I've ridden from the flat bit down there, basically, up many different hills, going very slowly, but it's so beautiful. Keeps raining on and off, It's absolutely gorgeous, so it's been good.
The day I rode to Hanique was gorgeous. I climbed up through the valleys with different weather in each one. The views were stunning, and it was clear I was getting closer to Switzerland with each pedal stroke. What was going to be the biggest challenge of my trip was starting to get closer.
Traveled to a mystical time zone, and I missed my bed, and I soon came home. They said there's too much caffeine in your bloodstream, and a lack of real spice in your life. I said, leave me alone, because I'm alright there. So I'm surprised to still be on my own. Strain of the pain again. Rush and the push and the land that we stand on is ours. It has been before, so it shall be again. And people who are uglier than you and I, they take what they need and just leave. Oh, but don't mention love. I'd hate this pain and the strain all over again. Rush and the push and the land we stand on is ours. It has been before, so why can't it be now? And people who are weaker than you and I, they take what they want from life. Oh,
It's so warm. I don't know how warm it is. Let me see if the Garmin says 29 degrees according to my Garmin, but I don't know how accurate that is. And I'm really itchy because I'm riding through loads of fields, so it's like hot and itchy and sweaty, which isn't very pleasant. But it's been nice so far, mostly along the main road on the cycle path, but I can see the mountains. So yeah, it's really warm, really sunny, as you can see, but good. Things are gorgeous. That has been my view for most of the morning. So pretty.
In my anatomy, don't you say? Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can send and forget me not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'll still reach up to the top. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Until the last day that I drop. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is something you can't stop. From infancy I've grown. The message that I'm giving, you don't have to be alone. No, you don't. 'Cause days may come.
Switzerland arrived and I felt joyous. The landscape was beautiful. I rode to Zurich and then onwards past the lakes, stopping for a dip in the Wallensee.
I'm so hot.
I stayed in a house up a valley and watched the storm out the window. And then the day the Sprugen Pass came.
You'll find out they're around. Hear me saying, yeah, yeah, yeah. You can send and forget me not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'll still reach up to the top. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Until the last day that I drop. Yeah, yeah, yeah. To the left, to the right. Keep it going, it's alright.
these tunnels sound like the whole mountain is gonna fall down when there's a car. The whole thing like rattles and it's so rumbly. Fucking hell.
The morning was warm, and I climbed slowly up towards Spoogham, up the first climb before the actual pass. It was slow work, hard, and I cried occasionally at the beauty of the landscape. The hairpin started, and then it straightened out before the last set. I sat in a car park and cried with all the emotions I was feeling. It was so beautiful and so overwhelming, and I was doing it. I was cycling over the Alps, alone and with all my luggage. I continued, slowly, stopping often, and eventually I made it. I called my parents at the top and then cried some more.
Yeah, but I'll still reach out to the top. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're going right around the clock. Yeah, yeah, yeah. To the left and to the right.
Maybe this is better. Such a nerd. I made it. That was slow.
Then I wrapped up and started the descent. It was fast and sketchy in a few places. I went through tunnels almost stacked on top of each other, past houses, past old patches of snow still on the ground.
You know what's funny? I thought, oh, I can see a nice lake on the map at the bottom of the pass. Maybe I'll swim in it. This is the lake. Will not be going for a swim. Oh, there's a guy sunbathing in his on the truck bed of his truck. Anyway.
It's not your situation. I just need contemplation. Oh.
You can't really see it, but I've made it to the fork of Lake Como. Straight ahead. It goes two different ways, which means I'm nearly at Menagio or Novialo, because that's like right on the side of the fork. So, nearly there.
I never ever should have told you you're my only world. Just think how long I've known you. It's wrong for me to own you lock and key. It's really not confusing. I'm just a young illusion, can't you see? I'm not the only one that holds you. I never ever should have told you you're my only girl. I'm not the only one that holds you. I never ever should have told you.
I was having a bit of a wobble in Casala Monferrato. I wasn't particularly looking forward to riding along the bottom of Italy and into France, because there wasn't anything that really interested me about it. I hated the uncertainty of not knowing where I was going to sleep. I'd booked more Airbnbs than warm showers, and spending that much money in a short amount of time worried me. I also felt lonely, because most nights I was staying on my own and I hardly spoke any Italian, so conversations were far and few between.
It's not your situation. I just need contemplation.
shit. Oh, you're fucking kidding me. Shit. Somehow I managed to take the valve out. Shitting hell. I really hope this works, because I'm so fucked. Stop. I'm like slowly falling. I mean, what is there to see anyway? I'm feeling a bit better now after my my wheel debacle. And just filled my water bottle up. Just had to do a detour, but I've gone downhill after, which is nice. It's really beautiful. Lots of rolling terrain, vineyards, a few hairpins. The road surface is so bad. But I do feel a bit better.
Italy wasn't the best to cycle through. The roads were wide and fast and grimy. I put my head down and got through the Po Valley in lower spirits than normal. I had a 100-kilometre day lined up, over 1,000 metres of elevation, and I was on my period. I felt apprehensive if I'd be able to do it, but I survived and I made it to the sea. I'd ridden from the English Channel to the Mediterranean.
So hot, and I've been doing this climb. It's not even officially a climb on my fucking route. It's been going on and on and on, and it's really hard, and I'm really hot and really sweaty, and it's basically uphill to the fucking Airbnb, and I'm so sweaty and sticky and gross, and like, it's not even officially a climb.
To me.
had to do the stupidest diversion ever. I had to ride on a pretty much unpaved road, and then the road ended, so I had to lift my bike over a crash barrier, which I managed this time, and then go through a ditch. And like I almost couldn't push my bike up the other side, but I managed to do it. Almost like spasmed my calf, and I'm just on fucking paved tarmac. And I'm hoping that it's not barriered on the other side either, because that might be my final straw for today.
I stopped in Grasse and then a few days later in Marseille to meet up with some friends. We went to concerts, moshed with French strangers, and I got shown around the city the next day. I had a wonderful time and left feeling rejuvenated. I decided to skip Mont Ventoux and return to it another time. I tried to make sure I didn't feel guilty about my change of plans. Instead, I made my way up through the French countryside towards Lyon. The middle of France was all very similar. Canals, rolling terrain, wind. One day I rode through clouds of midges which almost made me sick with disgust.
I had to restart my ride because the route wasn't loading, and so far I've ridden 4 kilometers in 15 minutes, which is quite funny, even though I've only ridden 40. so hot. It's like 26 or 27 degrees. Not much breeze. And the breeze that there is really warm. As you can see, sweating a lot. It's so hot. Like, I feel like I'm extremely bloated from drinking so much water, but like hardly needing to pee because it's so warm. My neck's really itchy. And the sun cream's probably come off, so I think in a minute I'm going to reapply some. God damn, is it warm. My mood dipped as I continued towards Paris. Not for any particular reason, but this part of the journey was always the return leg, and I wasn't hugely interested in tiny village after tiny village. I had to refill my water bottles in cemeteries and hope the water was clean enough to drink. When I reached Paris, I felt my mood improve as I would soon be heading back into Belgium and then up to the Netherlands, and this interested me far more than the middle of France did.
They shot a movie once in my hometown. Everybody was in it for miles around. Out at the speedway, some kind of heavy thing. Well, I ain't no movie star, but I can get behind anything. Yeah, I can get behind anything. Get it out, get it all out. Yeah, stretch that thing. Make it last, at least till the shop bell rings. Well, the taxi driver liked his rhythm, never liked to stop. Throws the passion in, something just threw him off. Well, sometimes the faster it gets, the less you need to know. But you gotta remember, the smarter it gets, the further it's gonna go. When you blow it high, go. When you blow it high, go. Woo! Baby, I feel fine. I'm pretty sure it's genuine. It makes no sense, now it makes no sense, but take it free anytime. If a fits up, usually gets up. It was the strangest thing. How'd you move so fast into that wedding ring? Well, sometimes the faster it gets, the less you need to know.
Interesting.
The telephone's not inside.
Paris, I headed to Brussels, where I stopped for a few days. I walked 15 kilometers around the city and ate a lot of yogurt. Then I carried on up into the Netherlands towards Amsterdam. The bike infrastructure was brilliant, and I don't think I cycled on a single road without a cycle path. The flat landscape was pleasant, and the wind was not as big as a problem as I thought it would be. I smoked a whole spliff in Amsterdam, which in hindsight was perhaps not the best way to get high for my first time. I survived the next day of being sick, and then rode a short distance to somewhere where I could rest for another day. I enjoyed the Netherlands despite this bad experience.
So I've come from somewhere just off the map, sort of near Schiphol, I think, maybe even in here, that we can't see, and then I don't really know which way I've come, but I think across, I don't know. I feel very tender-hearted today, sort of like feeling almost on the verge of tears, but not like bad tears, sort of like tears, I suppose, of gratitude and like beauty and appreciation for the world and life and people. Yeah, just sort of feel kind of in awe of this experience that I'm having and have been able to create, and the person that, there's so many spiders, I've become during it, and like the person I'll continue to be and continue to figure out. So yeah, it's a beautiful day, sunny, not too hot. There's tiny spiders everywhere. Oops. Yeah, and I'm going to sleep on a boat tonight. I requested, I don't know how many warm showers in Utrecht, maybe like 10 or 15. And someone came back to me this morning, Felix. So I'm going to sleep on their boat tonight, which is pretty cool. So I'm grateful that someone responded, otherwise I was going to camp in at a campsite. I couldn't figure out what their bank big thing was, which is annoying. So I'm grateful for Felix responding. And I've got a warm shower tomorrow night. Not the night after yet, but I'll have another look today at some point and request some more people or figure out where I can stay instead. So yeah, a lot of feelings today, and that's okay. It's raining. I'm so glad it's raining. Today is my penultimate day of riding, so I'm headed from Ghent to Ypres, and then tomorrow I'm riding to Calais. So I've got 2 nights in Calais before my ferry back. But yeah, I've got 90k tomorrow, 70 today. Camping tonight outside the city. But yeah, it's flat day tomorrow. It's a bit windy, but not as windy as the other day, which is nice because that was really difficult. But yeah, feel pretty good. Feel ready to go home. Yeah, the only challenge is figuring out how the Port of Calais works and getting to the right place. But yeah, almost done. Got 160k to do. Well, that's now because I've ridden 30 today. So yeah, pretty chill day. I had 2 nights in Calais before I got the ferry back to England. I navigated the port more successfully than before and got an earlier ferry. I met my friend in a car park in Dover and we stayed in a hotel overnight before driving back the next day. Being greeted by someone was a lovely way to commemorate and end my trip.